Right. Welcome, everyone. I would like to call Quarry Valley Unified Union School District Board meeting to order. Can everybody please stand, face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Mike has made the motion. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. General public comments. Doesn't look like we have any, so moving on. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda? Mike's made the motion to pass the consent agenda.
So, Eric, we do have one professional staff that does need board approval. Yes.
Okay.
So,
All right. So that can fit into that motion, Mike? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Reports. Superintendent's reports and principal reports can be informational. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to them.
We do have Evans, have Fastbridge and SIP that they can provide just a brief update.
Go
if you'd
ahead.
like.
Yep, so my reports are in the folder. For our fast bridge in the winter, we continue to see that we're shrinking the at-risk groups and improving the groups that do not need intervention. And then for VITCAP, we really did well this past year in ELA with like 70 and 80% of students getting a 3 or above. And then our math is on an upswing, so I think integrating our math plan has really helped us out. We're right around the state average there. Science still needs work. We're still trucking away at that. I think it will help with curriculum coordination at the elementary level. Integrating science into more foundational skills at the elementary, I think will pay off for us as we continue on.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Like I said, if anybody has any further questions, just please reach out. Okay, moving on to...
I have a couple of
Oh, you want to go too?
Yes, I
Okay.
And I think
I mean,
tonight,
Jay, it's just going to be all about Jay.
if you'd like to go, Jay.
the world I live in.
That's right.
Drum roll for Jay.
So a couple of things. I'll do VITCAP or Fastbridge VITCAP, and then I have a request for a field trip that I need to ask permission for.
Okay.
So our Fastbridge scores, we saw 63% of our students make typical to aggressive growth in early reading and 86% in early math. One of the areas of concern is the A reading, which is a timed test. Goes pretty quick, and it doesn't necessarily match up with our Fastbridge scores. And flipping to VITCAP, while we've seen 15% growth as a building over the last 2 years in ELA, science, 32% of our students hit level 3 or 4. A couple of things that are problematic, and this also does not align with our Fastbridge scores, that we saw dips in 8th and 9th grade math on VITCAP, and yet on Fastbridge, our students are actually doing pretty well. So again, we always talk about Fastbridge. It should not be an equal to VITCAP, and especially when we don't know exactly what VITCAP is asking. But if we're looking at student growth using Fastbridge, we do see that. So I know that Secretary of Education Zoe Saunders is looking to release questions and be able to let us see exactly what's on the test. That would be very, very helpful over the next few years to be able to really unpack that, because all we get is results saying you either did well or didn't do well, We just don't know on what. So, and one thing on my principal's report, our Destination Imagination team won the state Destination Imagination state championship a few weeks ago. And they came to, and they've done this several times, and they came to me saying, we would like to try to fundraise to go to Kansas City, Missouri, to the national competition. So they reached out to GE, Velco, lots of other local companies. They did a few other things, a GoFundMe, et cetera, and they are basically right there with the money that they need to send 4 students and 2 adults, 1 male, 1 female, to the nationals, which are May 20th to May 25th. So I was asking permission for an out-of-state field trip. They would be flying. And yes, we talked all about that. But to Lisa, who's from the Midwest, knows it takes a while to get out there if you're driving. So
It
flying
does.
is the way to go. So I'm asking the board's permission for 4 students and 2 adults to attend the Destination Imagination National Championships, May 20th to May 25th.
All right. Mike's made the motion. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Looks like you have it.
Okay, thank you. And again, this is all privately donated money that they are raising.
Great.
So
That's
credit to them.
That's a good thing.
That's
That's a
awesome.
great thing.
Krista?
Okay, I'll go
It's your
fast.
turn.
So Fastbridge winter testing indicates that over 3/4 of our students are demonstrating aggressive or typical growth in all sub-areas and all sub-tests, so that is pretty cool. As a school, we're demonstrating growth in both reading and math. And we've already begun our next steps because this is, the winter, it was the winter, by looking at individual student progress, and we've adjusted groups and interventions being used. For VitCap, if we look at a 3-year trend, we've demonstrated growth in all areas, ELA, math, and science. 59% proficient at this time or above in ELA, math 43% proficient or above, and proficient or above. So they're not great, but we're on our way up, moving on up.
Great. That's the right way to go.
And next steps, we're just, again, continuing our embedded PD with Read Vermont, the Read Vermont initiative. And we've also, we're kind of looking at the scope and sequence of bridges, because what we're finding is that the concepts that are coming up and that are, presenting themselves in the tests don't come up in the scope and sequence. So we've got to figure out a way to kind of navigate that.
Okay,
So the kids have a shot.
that would help.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
thank
it.
you.
Thanks.
Joe? Joe?
I'm just listening. I don't have anything in front of me right now.
Perfect, you're quick. You win, Joe.
Like in a second.
All right, we're moving on to old business. School consolidation, regional approaches. Where should we start with that? Does anybody have any discussion on that?
I think we're waiting to see what comes out of Montpelier, to be quite frank.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything's coming, does it?
Well, they did put the Caesars together. That seemed just like another level of bureaucracy, in my opinion. I'm trying to figure out how they provide more efficiency, even though the one that's currently in place, they say that they've had efficiency and savings, but I have yet to read where it says any dollar amount. So I'm always suspect when you say savings, but you don't say what the savings is. But, I think the one we're in is all the way from Slate Valley,
It's our regional superintendent's group.
yeah.
Yes,
So
all the way down the state line,
I'm,
New York and Massachusetts.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, but other than that, every day they change their mind, like, you change a baby diaper, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think the governor seems to be pushing them pretty hard for something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that the foundation formula continues to climb. When that was going to be this amazing cost savings measure, but, it's, in the Senate, it seems to have jumped up.
And then on my way here, one of was it a senator or a House member, I can't remember, I'm sorry, but he was speaking about, they need to really try to do something in Montpelier to help school boards. Otherwise, they're leaving it all on us to try to figure out how to save money. And,
Well, until they address the healthcare issue, we're not going to save any money at our level, because the only way for us to save money is to cut staff.
yeah.
That's the only way. And so, for Scott, for the Secretary of Education, for all of those people up there, and the Senate Ed Committee to say, well, we're not addressing that, but we want locally, we want you to do this, I think is fundamentally unfair, because they know that healthcare is the biggest driver, and they assured local boards when we questioned them that the state taking it over was going to be a significant savings. And there's been zero savings since they have taken it over. It has only grown. And I would just use that as a history lesson as to when the state takes things over in education.
Okay. Great. All right, so I guess we'll leave that where it is for right now.
Would the board like to just keep that as a running agenda item, just in case they're,
I mean, I think we can talk about things as they come up there, but I mean, until they really,
Yep, give us some.
and I do, at least I know you mentioned the CISA model, which is the House proposal. It's important to note that the Vermont Learning Collaborative, which is the Southeast Vermont's, the CISA that you referenced, they would lead a group of, I guess, 7 district task force, which would be assigned to looking for opportunities for regional or voluntary mergers within region around supervisory districts. So there still would be aspects of consolidation within this cooperative
right.
services model. It would just be through these committees and just discussion, and then they would look within our regional group. Would there be opportunities for to condense or consolidate into smaller supervisory districts? So there is still discussion of that even within the House proposal.
That's a huge challenge. I think we've seen that with.
We're seeing that play out right now.
Right.
through the maps and
64
task
was
force and
like,
everything. Right.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I also find it amusing that they have created this state construction aid bill, and in that bill, they add 6 state employees to oversee that. So as we're looking to cut and they want to reel us in for next year about how much growth you can have or level fund or whatever that is that they haven't quite decided, they've created 6 new positions within that bill. And even in the CEAS bill, that they're paying facilitators, 7 facilitators or something to do that. So while we're all supposed to be, making sure that we count every single penny, they're spending money up there, and the Agency of Education is adding employees that she has asked for. So just a little perspective.
All right. So we'll just keep it there in case something comes up. Okay. Moving on to new business. Capital maintenance request.
That was Liz, and she's not here yet.
She's not here.
Actually, Joe, did you want to talk about that? This is about the parking out front, the handicap spots?
Yeah, we have a quote they paved East Main Street last fall, and there's a big lip. We tried to get the quote when they were there to do it, just to see how much it was gonna cost while they were right there. But our handicap spot, I did put a couple of pictures in my board report. That needs to be like ground up and redone. But Rich also got a quote to seal the back parking lot too, but, the front, that handicap spot's the one that really needs to be done. That's, it's pretty rough shape. The other one is just trying to get it so it's level. We had some issues this year with the snow and everything kind of dropping down because it's about a 2-3 inch lift from the road to where our parking area is. It's not level. They didn't grind it or anything. They just sealed over the top. But the out front one, the total cost is like $20,000. We got a couple of quotes and that's what they're looking at.
You know, Joe, you'd said that you may have some money within your budget to cover part of it, but would not be able to cover all of it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So would that be something that you need the board's approval tonight, or would you get the quote and then at the next board meeting have the board, when they have the numbers in front of them, would that approve? Is it,
Yeah, well, I'd like to get the numbers because I know
Okay.
Rich just got another quote this week about sealing the back. Him and Louis were talking about it earlier this week, so I think we can wait because we're not going to do anything until the summertime anyway, so
Okay.
we'll wait and just try to line something up if we're able to.
Okay. So we'll just hold off till next month.
Yeah, I'll have more information next month. I'll have real numbers and stuff like that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Moving on to item B, Vermont School Board Governance, and I think that's you, Mike, right?
Well, not really, it's something, there's a document that's in your packet that just kind of goes over and talks about our individual responsibilities. And
Okay.
if we stay within our lanes, things seem to go pretty good, but once we get out of our lanes, we tend to run into issues there.
Okay. Is this something you want us to just take a look at on our own? And
Well, I think it's part of our responsibility to know what our responsibility is, and we also need to know what the responsibility of the superintendent is, and admins are, and if everybody stays within their lane, we can be much more efficient and effective.
Okay.
With respect to, are we done? Are you, to the capital maintenance request, on Liz's report under physical plant, it did say there's an additional invoice for the water main work completed by JDW that is requested from the capital maintenance fund. So was the capital maintenance request just Joe, or was it her as well?
we had just heard from Joe. I did not know Liz had an additional request.
Okay, I just read that in her principal's report, so I thought, all right, so if she comes tonight, if not, I guess we'll deal with that.
Yep, next month.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. Moving on to item C, exploring gifted building from former Green Mountain College, and it's this is just a discussion for right now, whether or not, I guess if we want to, if the board wants to move forward and take a serious look at it, we can, have a motion on the floor to do, due diligence, so to speak. This building is did you all see it in your packet? Mm-hmm. It's a 22,000 square foot building. Has the basement level, first floor, second floor, and a third floor. And it has enough structural integrity, per the architect, to house a technical center. So we could have our own technical center. And I think I'm understanding that Stafford does not have enough capacity for the students that would like to take classes there. And it would be nice to start our students in the 9th grade instead of waiting till 11th grade, and provide them with experiences so that they can get a great job when they get out of school. I know in some states, like New Hampshire, for instance, and others, because I've spoke to one of my clients is into workforce development, and when they leave high school, some of them have like machinist licenses or electrician licenses, or are well on their way to having a great background for engineering. some kids even get into, in these schools, into aviation type, educational learning, as far as aerodynamics and powertrains and that sort of thing. Also, you could have technical training, so much as anything to do with technology, as far as GIS and any kind of IT or software engineering, that sort of stuff. And I think with a gifted building, we still, you all know I'm a realtor, so you have to explore and kind of see what you're getting into with a building, right? Have your inspections and understand the costs around it. The buildings, from what the architect says, are very kind of moldable. You can move walls around inside that building and create class space sizes. So I don't know, if you guys want to take the next step, kind of exploring that, but it might be a way for us to look at something positive instead of figuring out where we're going to be sent at the end of Montpelier's exploration. What are thoughts?
Well, I think it would be a good avenue for kids to get more experience, more trade. 'Cause it does sound like Stafford's pretty full most of the time. And it's a huge need in the area for all technical,
I mean, we could possibly even draw kids from other districts.
So I just say one of the things I know that with technical centers, the state is still trying to figure out, what to do with our current tech centers, how to expand. So I think, one, if this is something the board have to explore, I think we have to look to see if that's even a possibility of us operating or just opening up our own tech center, or I think there could be many uses for this facility, many uses for the building that we could look at and just explore the ways. But I think, I just want to make sure that that's one option or one thing we'd be considering, but not, because I think there's still some red tape that we'd have to go through around a tech center. So,
Yep.
Just seeing where the state's moving.
Right.
There's a need, and the state's identified this as a need, but I think the state would look at what does that look like for a regional as opposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does everybody feel about just exploring it a bit more? Maybe I can even get like a site visit.
So Eric, could you just for those that, I know we have no public here tonight, but so maybe watch on PEG TV, when you say gifted building, what does that mean? 'Cause that may be-
So the owner has publicly stated that he was willing to gift a building for technical education. So my colleague works. It's one of her clients, and she was like, "You should get a hold of the architect Bob and talk to him." So that's what I did.
Yep. No, thank you. I just, because someone might not understand or if you feel out that term, so I just.
Yep. So that's how we got there. I know it's like it's a big step, obviously, but it could be good for kids. And there may, with 22,000 square feet, there's room for, instead of having rent for this office, possibly, moving an office to the supervisory union office into a building we own. That's just another possibility with that. Also, there's going to be common areas on the campus. One of them is the theater, which it's a nice theater. And the other is the gym, and the gym has a swimming pool. And we're always leasing the Catholic gym for basketball, so we could always use another gym. And we have AAU teams looking for gym time, so that's a possibility as well.
Can is there an elevator there?
Yes.
Okay, I was just trying to look
Yep.
at the floor plans to see if it was gonna meet ADA. I had imagined that it would have,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a question. One thing, just because I've dealt with buildings when I was in my previous school district, remember, once we take over it, we are responsible for the maintenance and upkeep,
Yep.
heating of a 22,000 square foot building, or winterizing it and securing it was something that we dealt with for a couple of years. The old Dana building in the old Dana Elementary in Rutland was something that we dealt with for several years. So I just felt like obligated, just because I've dealt with some of this before.
Yep.
Just some concerns, because sometimes things take time.
And Bob said that he would help us with all that stuff, so we could understand the costs associated with it. And he did mention that, we should have our own individual heating system, because right now they have a biomass system that heats the whole campus. So it's basically like a public utility. You have pipes that are carrying heat all the way through the campus to each building. So we would have to add a new furnace. We'd have to add bathrooms to the first floor, the ground level floor. And then upstairs and on the fourth floor, has an open area in it. And we could actually close that up and create more classrooms. But we definitely need to have it inspected by a qualified person, and to understand all of our costs. But he said he would volunteer his time to help us put together a plan.
So Eric, I think one of the things we probably will have to also consider is talking with the town, because of the property taxes and what this may do, because I do believe there's a shift, and Missy may be able to talk about this more.
But is it currently on the tax rolls?
Right, but when you
Yeah.
lose that tax revenue, because now becomes exempt from local property taxes, doesn't it?
Well, but is that property currently
I
on
don't
the
know,
tax?
I'm asking.
I don't know how that property is currently
It
qualified.
it is on the tax. From what I understand, it is on the tax roll.
So they'd have to, take out that building.
Right, I just think about what that would do, but potentially to, say, Pulteney's.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to
Just that's
see
a
what
question
they're.
just as we're exploring. just
So,
consider
so
as
maybe the first step is we talk to the AOE. Maybe you could send them a letter, Chris. Before we get going down the road, we should know if they would even allow us to have something there.
I think before you send a letter to the AOE, you really need to have more of a concrete idea of what your discipline's gonna be.
Mhm.
Stafford has 15 different disciplines.
Yep.
And they have pretty close to 300 students, okay? Those kids are there by application. And there is some screening going on to make sure that they're really interested in the course, rather than just trying to get out of high school,
Mhm.
okay? So how many disciplines would we have? That would be a question that I think the AOE would want to know the answer to, okay? You'd have to show, I think, a rough idea of what just staffing costs would be for that, okay? I would assume that you're gonna have to have one staff member at least for each discipline. You could have, if it's gonna be an all-day program, you definitely need one staff member per discipline.
Mhm.
What that would cost, okay? these are costs above and beyond the building. Buildings are gonna be pretty much fixed costs, except for your, relatively fixed. But you have maintenance, fuel, electric, insurance, upkeep, okay? But we know what the cost of instructors are. And that's gonna be significant. At least I alluded earlier to just the cost of health insurance.
Yeah.
For those folks is gonna be pretty astronomical there. So I think we'd have to also determine whether or not there would be two opportunities to go to two different technical centers. For example, if we send kids to Stafford, we fund that, correct? There's a charge per child that Stafford charges us, okay?
Correct.
So if we had, and I'm just hypothetically saying, we have 15 students, 10 wanted to still go to Stafford, but 5 wanted to go to the new technical center, would that new technical center then charge us for that? Okay, how are they gonna get their funding, okay? In the end, the taxpayer's gonna pay for this whole thing, okay? Are they gonna be willing to see an increase in their taxes to fund a technical center that on paper might look good for their child, but in reality is another venture that might not pan out economically. So I think before we send off the AOE, I think we need to have a better rough idea of what we're doing, rather than just a letter going off, hey, would you be interested in,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's really up to Chris to do that. I think as a board, that's what we would need to put that together and then give it to Chris, maybe for refinement, and then send it off, rather than expecting Chris to do that.
It's a lot.
I
Yep.
think I would like to know the answer from the AOE before I did a deeper dive. And I think they should be able to tell you, yes, you can create a new school when they have basically put a handcuff on it creating private school like that. And so I don't know, like within a public school system, what that would be, how they would view that. But since technical schools are at the state level, I'm not sure what their involvement would then be in that. So I would propose maybe creating a committee of the board and trying to set up maybe a conference call with whoever it is up at AOE, and I'm sure you can figure that out just going through the website, and having that conversation with them and sharing basically, this is the building, there's a possibility it can be gifted to us. Our first and primary question is this something the AOE will allow? Because if they're not gonna allow you to do anything, the rest of it is for not.
Yep.
So, to me, that just seems like, I mean, those things that Mike laid out, completely important. But if they're not gonna let you have the building to do that, we've done a lot of work for nothing. And so, and I would think they can tell you yay or nay, because there are things in statute that they have said you cannot do. So, and just because, and it is this weird balance, because tech schools are state, and so how does that fall if a district wants to create their own tech school and oversee it? Like, would you be eligible for state grants and, those kinds of things? So, that would be the first question I would want to know before you went down the rabbit hole of like $3 million.
Right? Yeah, see if they would give us the go-ahead to explore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to be the question. So, and I do think that if that's something the board wants to move forward and do, that is our responsibility. I don't think we can pile this on the superintendent. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're coming to the end, you're doing evaluations. I mean, there's just, I mean, I do my
It
own
may be a quick
business.
5-minute phone call, or a meeting,
Yeah.
or it could be a longer conversation. Because I think there are 2 points. One you said is if the board's idea was to draw regionally, where it's not just servicing our students, but other students,
Yeah,
that is a conversation that takes us down this path. But if it really is more about just servicing our students, there's a conversation on this path. So I think
Well,
having the
I
AOE even
think-
just to understand that, you know,
Which
what is the temperament? there?
Doing Plan 2, which would, I'm going to say it's Plan 2, would be to service our schools, our SU schools,
Right.
and
But I know what the state was, I have a feeling I know what the state would say. It's
Well-
we'll close down one of your buildings, just turn one of those buildings instead of taking a whole new one and adding cost.
yeah.
So that's, you know, so.
I think you have to see that you're, oh, now we're in a CISA. And, what we're looking at is not just having a tech school because that's going to be in competition with Stafford. I mean, I don't see any advantage of that. I don't see any of that. I think if you're doing something, then you're offering it, like 7th and 8th grade, before you could go on to Stafford, and you're offering different things there that are more centralized, so you don't have to have them in every building. And I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm ambivalent about this. I mean, we had programs in our own schools, and the state made us take them out. Now we have a workout gym or a hangout room or whatever those are, because you couldn't keep, those kinds of programs in there. So I think you have to think about, if you said it was just going to be within our own district, well, then you've basically killed a couple buildings, because you don't have enough kids to
Right.
support a 22,000 square foot building and support your local schools. That just fundamentally doesn't work. But I think if you talk about, being in a, this new, huge, and you're talking about starting maybe at middle school and doing something like that, where if nothing else, maybe you do a cycle through where, 7th graders, I mean, back in the olden days, we used to be on quarters, and you go for 9 weeks or something like that to try out something. But I just think the first question is the AOE going to allow you to even look at forming a new building when basically in statute, I think it says you're not allowed to start any new schools. So, I mean, private schools, so I don't know, and so to me, that would be the first question. I think that, the AOE could take 5 minutes out of their day. We could set up a conference call, and, 3 people or whoever want to be on the committee can meet and, have a conversation with them. They spend enough time under the Golden Dome that they could spend time with some of their constituents.
I agree.
But that would be the first question for me before, anything else. Just, can you do this? And then what are the parameters if you are going to do it? And, I mean, you'd have to draw people in. There's no way.
That would be the goal of it.
People talked the other night about budgets passing, and, we say our budget passed, but it was by a small margin. You can't infuse $3 million, and if you're putting a new heating system in a 22,000, that's not cheap.
And it would be nice to be able to draw more of the SU students to our schools, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be.
But I think you have to
ideal.
create something that doesn't exist. And that has to be not in conflict with Stafford. And, you know, I don't think it's problematic to create something like that. We do that, try to do that in our schools for middle school to give them lots of experiences. And maybe you have, you know, things that happen where you have teachers, because of whatever's available in a building, that rotate out from an existing middle school, high school to teach kids from all, you know, or that want to attend there. I mean, I think the possibilities are endless. The money is not, and the okay from the AOE is not assured, so.
I agree. I think the AOE is the first step. That's the hurdle. And they may tell us what we can and can't do. They may say that you can't have the same classes as, or curriculum as Stafford.
Yeah, I don't think you want to.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you want to be in I mean, there are some things maybe like, you know, electrical or basic things like that, you know, I don't know, but I think you want to be able to offer, you know, additional, you know, I don't know, more tech savvy, robotic kinds of things that
Yeah.
you see. And maybe that's something that, you know, you talk to GE and places like that about what kind of workforce they see in 10 years that they're going to need.
Yeah,
So-
start at that end. Ask what their ideal employee would
Yeah.
be as far as education.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a phone and everybody runs a phone, but that doesn't mean everyone can run the, you know, system on Amtrak or whatever that is.
Right.
So, you know, there are things like that. Or, you know, if you're gonna have, you know, for, you know, pilots or something like that. I mean, there are companies then, if you're supporting for their workforce, they should be helping you set those things up. But that would be the first step. I don't see doing anything other than asking the AOE, and it's either yay or nay from them. So either you go forward or you're dead. And I think the other question might be, and maybe I'm unclear, is the gift of the building being offered to other people?
There is, I think, he also mentioned publicly that he would gift it to a religious organization.
Right, but that was the campus as a
Right,
whole. But I
right.
mean, this particular building.
Well, there's a private school on the campus at
Sure.
one of the buildings. And some of the buildings design, if you look at through this packet,
Yeah.
will be residential buildings, like flats, kind of like
Okay,
an apartment type thing. And then there's common areas.
okay.
You know, like we would be able to use the fields for sports if we needed to, or, you know, have opportunities there.
Okay. Yeah, I just think we have to, you know, find out who at the AOE is the person and set up a time and have a conversation.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that to make it happen? Do we need a
I think
motion?
we can have a consensus. If
does-
people are violently against it, they should be
Yeah.
speaking out.
Right, right.
So who would like to be a part of that conversation?
Well, I will.
Okay.
I'll be a part of it.
Need someone from West Rutland.
Jesse will be part of it.
Say, Tom,
Why do you volunteer ever?
Tom, aren't you on building, Tom's on building and grounds.
Tom's on buildings and grounds, so Tom will come.
You don't want to make them mad, that's why.
It's
Or-
probably going to be during the day when we meet, just as a point of reference, because they're not going to meet with us at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
She might not be able to do it either.
Yeah, it's not fair to volunteer somebody, so I'll volunteer in their place.
All right. So there we go.
We do have
All
a
right.
committee in place, so. Okay, so I will try to schedule something, it's probably going to be after spring break.
Sure, I don't think it's, yeah.
Okay.
an emergency
No,
conversation.
All right, so then Eric, Lisa, and Mike are the three then.
Yeah.
Great.
Nice.
Doesn't hurt to explore. Okay.
Do we want to just let Liz give her update?
Yeah, please.
Hi. Pardon me for being late. Am I addressing the maintenance request or in general?
The maintenance request, and you can give us, if you want, you can give us a quick rundown
Like
of the cap.
Oh, yeah,
But
sure.
it doesn't have to be like
No,
hours.
I apologize. Yeah, hours. I don't know if I have that much left in the tank, Eric, but thanks. No. Yeah, so VitCap, we are actually finishing up with makeups for the math and the ELA at this time, and then next week our fifth graders will take the science assessment. We were able to get everybody in, everybody done. My staff did a nice job scheduling around and making sure everyone had space and rooms, and so that's gone really well. We actually were able to recognize students. Everyone's names went into a ticket drawing every day, and staff just went in on getting gift cards for Starbucks and Walmart, so kids were really jazzed about that. High turnout for Starbucks, so it's been fun. They love that, I guess. And we have our Show Your Work night is next Wednesday from 5:30 to 7. So I'd love for you guys to stop on by. Lots of great things being shown, lots of great projects going on. Some super exciting news. Actually, Linda McEwen from the high school helped us work through the Cliff grant. And we had letters, we had support letters coming from the town, from the library, within the own building, and we actually were awarded the grant for the year of the book, so we will receive $25,000 towards literacy, writing instruction, writing residency. The library will receive some money as well. We'll be able to bring in an author, so that's really great. And then there's a second year follow-up. So right now we're at the putting an advisory board together internally, and then we will get out all of our press-related documents that they've sent us. So we're very thankful for Linda spearheading that and for everybody that helped support it. It's huge, and it still falls under our school improvement plan, under our literacy goal. So it's going to kind of shift a little bit what we're going to work on for the upcoming year. And we are also working with Linda McEwen from the high school, and we're bringing in an author. His last name is Chin. I'm forgetting his first name at the moment. And we just purchased a bunch of books that he has published, and our students are going to be working on actually some multifaceted projects with his picture books that he has going. And we'll meet him in person in June, and our 5th and 6th graders are reading a book, The Revealers, which the 7th and 8th graders are really reading as well. That's part of our Drop Everything and Read, so there's guiding questions to go through that. It's a book on bullying, and they're loving it. Doug Willem is the author. He will be coming in the spring, so very excited for that. We have our color run coming up to help support our playground funds. That's the 3rd of May, 2nd of May. It's the 2nd of May. And it's run in town. I won't run, but I'll try to swing by. They do a colored dash, actually, for the younger kids, so a 100-yard dash, and we throw color at them, and it's super fun. Lots of great things to look forward to in the spring for us. Field trips coming up. Our Boston field trip right now, we are running a fundraiser that several of us put our faces on glass jars to pie us in the face, as the student one was extremely successful in the fall. So I have $0 in mine. While that makes me happy, it makes me very sad. So I might slip a couple dollars in there. But no, super exciting. Any questions about that before I move into the maintenance request?
Nope.
So the actual invoice, I guess I didn't get it over in time to that, but following the water main break, when we had Fabians come and do the excavation side to it, JDW had to come to do the new piping, and so they sent us an invoice, which was not part of the original request. And that invoice is $12,000 and change. I don't have it in front of me. It's sitting on my desk, but so we're just looking for some support on that piece, as that was an unexpected cost, just given the situation of what had happened. So that's my request, and I can get that over to have added to this drive for you to have as well. So that is the maintenance request.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from the capital improvement,
Okay.
capital maintenance.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any discussion?
How was that overlooked?
What do you mean?
Who was responsible for that 12,000? Was there some engineering
Yeah.
that was overlooked by somebody?
Our
or-
facilities director was there the entire day, start to finish, with both companies. So that, if that answers your question, that's,
Not really.
okay.
When the project was initiated, they didn't know that this other $12,000 expense would come along, or how did that develop?
Sure, so when we had the town come out, they measured out where they thought the leak was going to be, and then when Fabian showed up, the leak was actually right up against the building, so it required a whole new set of pipes inside the building that most likely would not have been if the leak was where, it would have been a patch instead of a whole new system. So it was an unanticipated cost to that,
So the town determined where they thought the leak was?
Yeah, we had
when in
them come out.
reality, it was in a different place?
right up against the building. Yep. So that's how that, I think that now answers your question. So it's not in my wheelhouse, but yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. Finance, just look it over, and if you have questions, send them to Lewis or Chris. General public comments. We're all set there. And we do have an executive session, need of an executive session tonight?
Yes, just for a quick conversation.
Okay. Can I have a motion to move into executive session? All right, motion's been made. So moved.
I.
It is 6:52.